have covered two important aspects related to our polity session. Today I am going to continue the third topic, that is fundamental rights. Okay students, yesterday I have covered from article number 12 to article number 19. Okay, so I am going to cover upcoming articles related to fundamental rights. Okay students, so let's start today's session. Okay, fine. So we are going through this topic, that is fundamental rights. Just listen me, I am repeating it again. Okay, fundamental rights are those rights which are given to each and every individual of that particular nation. Okay students, each and every individual, which is enforceable by the courts, either that is High Court or Supreme Court, and that is enforceable against the state. Okay students, I have provided you the definition of a state. Okay, so now let's going through the fundamental rights upcoming articles. Okay, let's see. This is about article 21, article number 21. This is the one article which is probably the most important article in the fundamental rights, or even we can say that the most important article in our constitution, the Constitution of India. Okay students, so let's see what article 21 actually mean. Okay, so article 21 says that no person shall be deprived of his life and personal liberty. Article 21 clearly mentioned that no person shall be deprived of his life and his personal liberty. Okay, fine. What does it mean? I will tell you right now. Okay, second thing is that according to procedure established by law. According to procedure established by law, what does it actually mean? I will also tell you. I will clear both these points. So let's see. Be attentive towards what I am saying right now. Okay, so let's do one by one. So what does it say? The first point says that no person shall be deprived of his life. Okay, it means if any person living inside the territory of our nation, okay, if any person that live inside the territory of our nation, then that person has the right, to live with personal liberty. Okay, live with dignity. Okay, second thing is that according to procedure established by law. Fine. Actually, whenever we will not read about article 20, we will not properly get about the details of article 21. That is why I will come on these 2 points later, but right now I am going through the another slide that will understand you properly. Okay students, see article 20. Article 20, what does actually article 20 say? In real terms, actually article 20 protects from arbitrary conviction. What does this mean, arbitrary conviction? Let's see, focus. Arbitrary conviction. Arbitrary conviction means any conviction. What does this term conviction means? Conviction means if any person does an offense. Offense means if any person does a crime. Suppose a person A do any offense, okay, then any law related to that offense for punishment will be applicable, okay, for punish this person. I am repeating it again. Suppose a person A that has done some kind of offense, then for that offense there is certain law in our constitution as well as our legislation. So according to that law, if that law will not follow properly according to procedure established by law, then that law and that person that has sent to jail or that has sent to police station will be termed as arbitrary conviction. Conviction means if any person does any kind of offense, then what kind of action will be taken against that a special person, that is counted as offense. Okay, offense, and that offensed person will be convicted in the police station. Okay, so I hope you got the point. Conviction. Now arbitrary means actually the wrong way. Okay, if anyone will do and punish this person according to law, what does actually law will say? If police follow those law properly and convict that person according to law, then that person will not understand as and turned as arbitrary conviction. If the police will not follow this law properly, only then we can say that that convicted person will be turned as under the guidance of arbitrary conviction. Okay, fine. I hope all of you get that point. Now let's see. And actually Article 20 protects us from arbitrary conviction. Okay. Second point is said that procedure established by law. Let's see. I have already told you that there is a law, there is a person A. Okay, if a person A does any kind of offense, if a person A does any kind of offense, then that person will be punished according to the procedure established by law. Whatever the process mentioned in that law, that person will be convicted according to that law. That is called procedure established by law. Okay, students. So when that person will be punished according to procedure established by law, then only then we can say that that conviction is not arbitrary. Otherwise, students, otherwise if that person has not been turned as real procedure, then that is arbitrary conviction. Okay, students. So I have already told you in the first slide that Article 21 says that no person shall be deprived of his life and from his personal liberty. So what happens if anyone will deprived from his life and personal liberty? If any person has been deprived by his personal liberty, okay, then what action will be taken? What should the authority will do? Then that article, Article 20 will protect that person from that arbitrary conviction and provide that person with dignity of life. Okay, only then that person will be turned as life with dignity. That is Article 21. Article 21 will not conclude anything without Article 20, because whenever Article 21 will applicable properly only when Article 20 will be applicable. Okay, students. So let's see about Article 20. Okay, let's see detail in about article number 20. Fine, students. Okay. The previous slide actually. Yes. Let's see detail about it. Article 21 says what? Article 21 says that no person shall be deprived, okay, from his life and personal liberty. So if anyone has deprived, let's suppose anyone has deprived, let's eliminate it. If any person will deprive from his life and personal liberty, then which article of Indian Constitution will protect that person? That is Article 20. So in a way we can say that actually Article 21 is being protected by Article 20. Okay, Article 20 protect Article 21. The rights of Article 21 will be provided through Article 20. Okay, so now move to the next slide, please. See, there are three important points mentioned in Article 20. Okay, the first one is that procedure established by law. Okay, fourth point, procedure established by law. If any crime has been done, by someone, then that offense person will be convicted, but only according to the procedure established by law. Okay, suppose any authority which has the right to convict that person, then the authority will follow the law with procedure established by law. Then this person can't say that the Article 21 doesn't follow in my case. Okay, now let's see these 3 points, these 3 important points. These are really important points. You must know about these points. Today's session is really going to be interesting. I am making you sure. Okay, see, the first one is that no ex post facto law. What does it mean? No ex post facto law means, let's see, no ex post facto law. Let's be attentive. If there is any tax law, revenue law, okay, or any civil law, if these laws will be followed, okay, then these laws can be followed for previous crime too. Let's see my example. You will understand this point very easily, students. Let's see. There is a person A, okay, he has done some money laundering in past years. Okay, he has done some money laundering in past years. Okay, or even we can say that he has not paid the tax according to the procedure in past years. Okay, at that time if there was no law applicable for convicting that person, okay, then suppose in 2005 if that person has not paid tax, okay, that comes under tax law, not paid tax properly and hidden his profitable income in 2005, then what will happen? If at that time there was no law for conviction that person, then suppose in 2020 if a law passed by parliament and according to that law, if this person does the same crime at this time present time, then this person will be said as an offensed person and a criminal person according to tax law, not according to criminal law. Okay, fine. So what will happen that if a person does tax hidden crime, then that person will be punished according to present law. But if government want, then government can punish this person for past crime. Okay, for past crime, that is tax hidden from the eyes of authority. Okay, it means tax law, revenue law or civil law will be applicable for past years too. Okay, this person can't say that I have stolen the money by hidden my tax in recent years and at that time there was no law for fencing me, then why after 15 years you are convicting me? This person can say, but this person can't say according to the law, because this comes under tax law. The same will be happen under revenue law and civil law. Fine. But in criminal law you can't do it. Okay students, what does it mean? It means that if any person does a crime, let's person A, if he does a crime in 2005, year 2005, and at that time for that criminal offense, okay, there was no punishable, okay, so that person actually left. After few years, in 2006, Parliament a legislation and passed the legislation that if any person will do the same crime, then that person will be convicted. Okay, that person will be convicted. But according to this new law, government can't and authority can't, police authority can't, understand it properly, police authority can't convict that person according to this law, because at that time when this person has done this crime, that time that law was not present for convicting him. Only because of that, this is no ex post facto law, only in criminal case. Okay, I hope all of you have got it properly. In criminal cases, any person will not be convicted for what it had done earlier. Okay, what he had done earlier, he will not be convicted for the future or present making legislation. Fine, I hope you have got it. The second one is no double jeopardy. It is almost the simple one. I hope all of you know it, but it's my duty to tell you. Okay, this is no jeopardy. No jeopardy means no double jeopardy. Sorry, no double jeopardy means for one crime, for doing a one crime, you can't punish a convicted person twice, or means more than one. If a person does a crime means single crime, means he has done one crime, okay, one crime at one point of time, then for that particular crime, that person can't be convicted and punishable more than one. He can put his punishment only one time. The simple words I am writing here, and I am telling you the simple words. Any person will not be convicted more than once for doing a single crime. He will be convicted and he will get punishment only one time for that one particular crime. Okay, for one crime he will not get more than one punishment. It doesn't mean that if any person will do a crime, then more than one charges cannot be made on him. This is not. More than one charges can be made against him, but the same charges or any other charges will not be applied after the person will be convicted and go to jail. Okay, fine. I hope this is clear. Now the third one is no self-incrimination. This is taken from USA. In our constitution, our founding fathers bought this one from United States of America. No self-incrimination means, simple term is that right to remain silent. Right to remain silent. What does it mean? Suppose I have done any crime, okay, and I have convicted myself, fine, okay, any authority has convicted me, fine. If any authority has convicted me, then I have the right to remain silent and doesn't say anything to the authority. Okay, it doesn't mean that police will not collect your fingerprint. You can't stop authority from taking your fingerprint or even blood sample or even narco test, lie detector test. You can't put that down. Okay, those are available for authority because investigation should also be done, but you can't be forced to say anything on behalf of that authority. Okay, so right to remain silent. If I am in custody of any police station or under any authority, okay, then it's my right to don't say anything. Okay, I will say whatever I will say in the courtroom. Okay, so I will remain silent. This right has been given, okay, in Article 20. Fine. So I hope both these points as well as this ex post facto law has been clear to all of you. Okay students, if this will be followed only when Article 21, the points that mentioned under Article 21, that is right to live with dignity, no person shall be deprived of his life and personal liberty, that point will work only when this process will be followed. Okay, if any person is being forced to tell, okay, whatever the authority wants to hear from that person, then the right to live with dignity and right to live without, okay, being deprived from personal liberty will be left out from that person. Only that of because protecting of Article 21, Article 20 is very important. Fine. Now let's move to the another slide. Another slide is Article 22. This is also too interesting, and as like Article 21 is being protected by Article 20, when I am saying that Article 21 is being protected by Article 20, it doesn't mean that Article 21 and is protected by Article 20, not in simple, not in general, just understand it. Okay, the points that mentioned under Article 21, that no person will be deprived from his life and personal liberty, that point is being protected by Article 20. Okay, if any person will be deprived from his life and personal liberty, if any person will be deprived from his life and personal liberty, then Article 21 is violating. There is the violation of Article 21. If any person is deprived from his life and personal liberty, okay, then what will happen? Then Article 20 will protect that person. Okay, Article 20 will protect that person by the term of arbitrary conviction. Fine. I hope all of you are getting it. Now Article 22. Actually, Article 22 also protects Article 21. So here is Article 21 and it is being protected by Article 20 as well as Article 22. Okay students, that's why I have said you in earlier times that Article 21 is the most important. In my opinion, it is the most important one, as well as Article 32 that I will tell you later. But right now, in my opinion, Article 21 is the most important fundamental rights, okay, in our constitution. Fine. Now let's see about Article 22, the details about Article 22. As like Article 20 protects you from arbitrary conviction, in the same manner Article 22 protects from arrest and detention. What does it mean? If any person does a crime, then can Article 22 protects that person from arrest and detention? Then what will happen to this country? No, friend, I am not saying that. Okay, let's see. If any arbitrary arrest and detention will be done, only when Article 22 will be applicable, otherwise not. Let's see. If any person has done any certain crimes, okay, then that person will be arrested. But if that person will be arrested and detention, the detention of that person will happen only if when procedure established by law has been followed. Okay, according to the procedure established by law, the authority has followed this procedure to arrest that person and detention of that person, only then that is legal. Otherwise, if procedure established by law not followed, what is procedure established by law? I will tell you in another slide, today's session. But if that authority, the authority which has the right to arrest and detention of that person, of any person, then if that authority follow the procedure established by law, then that arrest is and detention is not arbitrary. Okay, But if that procedure is not being followed, then that arrest and detention is arbitrary. Just like conviction. Conviction means what? Let's see. If any person will be convicted doesn't mean arrest. Convicted means you are being convicted of certain crimes. After that you will get detention, in the detention, fine, and you will arrest. After conviction, only after conviction you will be arrested or you are in detention. Okay, so don't combine Article 20 and Article 22. Okay, Article 20 says that conviction will happen earlier before arrest and detention. Okay students, so now let's come to the ground of arrest and legal representation and 24-hour magistrate representation point. Okay, I will tell you in just 2 to 3 minutes because this is not very technical one. Fine. So if any authority which has the right to arrest and convict any offended person, okay, then that authority has to tell that person that on which grounds you are being arrested or you are being come in the detention. Okay, I am repeating it again. If any authority which has the right to arrest any person, okay, then that authority has to tell that person that under which grounds and on which grounds that person is being arrested or that person should be arrested. So grounds of arrest should be tell to that convicted person for arrest of that person. Okay, so that person has the right to know that on which grounds I am being arrested. Fine. Second one is that legal representation. Suppose anyone has arrested by doing any crime, or if anyone has been convicted and after conviction he has been arrested. Fine. If he has been arrested, then what will happen? The authority has to tell him that what are the grounds on which that person has been arrested. Fine. After that, if that person, that convicted person which is in jail doesn't have facility of any lawyer, then what will happen? Then it is the responsibility of the authority or the state, it is the responsibility of the authority or the state to provide legal representation to that person. Okay students, legal representation to that person. What does it mean? That authority and the state will provide a lawyer for that person. I hope you understand it. Now it's 24-hour magistrate representation. Okay, what does it mean? It means that if any person is being convicted, after that, if suppose after conviction he is arrested, after arrested, just before arrest, that person should know about him that on which grounds he is being arrested. After arrest, if that person is not capable, if that person is capable, then he can hire or she can hire the lawyer by himself or herself. But if that person is not capable of hiring any lawyer, then it is the duty of the state to provide legal aid by providing him a lawyer. Okay, after that what will happen? That 24-hour magistrate representation. After being arrested, it is the duty of the authority who has arrested him that present that person to a magistrate within 24 hours, or otherwise if more than 24 hours, then reasonable reason should be provided before magistrate. Okay, so it is the duty of the authority to represent that convicted and arrested person before the magistrate before 24 hours. Okay students, before 24 hours. I hope all the points have been clear. Okay students, so in a way Article 21 is being protected by Article 20 as well as Article 22. That is why no person shall be deprived of his life and personal liberty will be happen in reality. That is why, so these are the points on which we can say that Article 21 is being protected by Article 20 as well as Article 22. Okay, because in just one line I am saying that no person shall be deprived of his life, okay, will be protected only when the other things will be provided to that person. What will happen? In any law we say that this should not be happen, but what mean if that has happened? Then some law has to be made for defending that one. Okay, that is why if liberty of that person, right to live with personal dignity and right to live with liberty is being protected only when these both articles will come in action. Okay students, now come to the next slide. Our next one is that procedure established by law, as well as one new terms, that is due process of law. Okay, actually procedure established by law is a British concept, is a British concept, and it is American concept. Okay students, it is an American concept. Now let's understand it. Procedure established by law means if any law has been made by our legislation or made by the Constitution itself, then that law has to be followed up properly according to procedure established by law. If the procedure established by law is not being followed, okay, then that is arbitrary conviction, arbitrary arrest, arbitrary detention. Fine, I hope all of you will get it. I have explained it so many times. This is the simple one, procedure established by law. Okay, if let's see by an example. If there is a law, okay, and some person, look, if there is a law and if some person has been convicted, if a person has been convicted, let's see properly. There is a law, okay, and according to law that person has been convicted and that person goes to Supreme Court or even High Court. Let's talk about Supreme Court. That person has go to and approached Supreme Court, okay, then Supreme Court will see that either according to law procedure established by law has been followed or not. The Supreme Court will not see that either this law is right or wrong. Okay, this right is wrong, okay, law is right or wrong. Supreme Court will not see that. Supreme Court will only see that procedures mentioned for accompanied that law is being followed or not. If procedure established by law is being followed for convicting that person, then Supreme Court will not look under the matter of law that this law is right or wrong. Okay, fine. If you will understand it, there will be more visibility about it. Okay, now let's see due process of law. I have already told you that due process of law is an American concept. In due process of law, what happened that suppose a person does any crime, fine. For that crime, if any authority, look, if any authority has convicted that person, fine, then that person will be detained, that person will get arrested. Okay, after that, that person will also approach to the courts, either Supreme Courts or any other respective courts. Okay, after that, in due process of law, Supreme Court will even see that either this law, according to law by which this person has been convicted, either this law is correct or not. this is actually more deep insight of providing justification. Okay, in procedure established by law, Supreme Court will not see that this law is correct or not. Supreme Court will only see that either procedure has been followed according to that law or not. Okay, in procedure established by law, Supreme Court will not see that either this is wrong or right, this law is wrong or right. Okay, but in due process of law, Supreme Court can see that if he wants, if he desires, then Supreme Court see that either this law is even right or wrong. Okay, so this is the difference, that this is not talk about the law itself, this is talking about procedures. Okay, either procedures has been correctly followed to convicted that person or not. But in due process of law, even Supreme Court say that, and Supreme Court can decide upon itself that either this law is right or wrong. The procedure is after, only after that Supreme Court will come on the procedure term later. Just before procedure, in due process of law, he will first see that either this law is correct or not. Okay, but in procedure established by law, the Supreme Court will directly see that procedure has been followed or not. If procedure has been followed, then the matter will be okay, or if procedure has been not been followed, then Supreme Court will protect the life and dignity of that person according to Article 20 and Article 22 and some other articles. Okay, students, fine. Now moving to the next slide. I hope these both points have been clear to all of you. If not, you can ask me. Fine. Here is some case that is about what I have taught you right now. Okay, A.K. Gopalan case, 1950. In A.K. Gopalan case, let's see. First of all, in Indian Constitution, only procedure established by law has been mentioned. Due process of law has not been mentioned. So we can say that India has adopted only procedure established by law, not due process of law. Fine. So in A.K. Gopalan case 1915, what has happened that some issue arises. So there is a case ongoing on in Supreme Court. Okay, that is A.K. Gopalan case, termed as A.K. Gopalan case 1950. Fine. So in that case, Supreme Court said that, listen me carefully, Supreme Court said that in India there is nothing about due process of law. In India we followed procedure established by law. Fine. So the point has been ended there itself. Okay, the matter has been closed about the debate of both the points, procedure established by law and due process of law. At that time it was clear that even Supreme Court agreed that in India, if Constitution has not mentioned about due process of law, then we can't did that due process of law. But actually that did not work in a longer phase. Okay, Supreme Court has accepted it in a later case. In that later case, in Menaka Gandhi case, let's see, in Menaka Gandhi case 1978. Okay, this is the difference about due process of law. Understand it. In A.K. Gopalan case, Supreme Court had clearly said that there is nothing about the presence of due process of law in India. But inversely, the same Supreme Court in 1978 in Menaka Gandhi case said something different. What has happened in Menaka Gandhi case? Okay, the passport of Mrs. Menaka Gandhi has been seized, and the reason of seizing her passport has not been given to the courts. Okay, she has approached to the courts, and courts asked the authority that on which basis you have arrested, means you have seized her passport. Okay, so the reason has not been given to the courts. After that, the Supreme Court looks after the Passport Act. Passport Act. In 1978, Supreme Court looked after this Passport Act, and after looking it, Supreme Court said that, hear me clearly, Supreme Court clearly said that this law itself is not right. Okay, this law itself is not a right law. Fine, I hope all of you are getting it. It means what? It means now Supreme Court has agreed that it has time to be adjust with the due process of law, because procedure established by law itself not working for a longer time. So in nowadays, at present time, Supreme Court can even see about the due process of law if Supreme Court desires to do so. Fine, I hope all of you have get it. Now I am going to the next slide. Fine students, our next slide is about preventive detention. See, in Article 22, what I have told you that there is the protection of arbitrary detention and arrest. Fine, don't confuse and mix Article 20 and 22. Article 20 is about, I am repeating it again, students get too much confusion in Article 20 and 22. They look that both are same, but both are not same. That's why I am repeating it again and again. Article 20 is about conviction. Conviction does not mean arrest. Okay, if any person has been convicted, it doesn't mean that he has been arrested. Okay, Article 20 is being conviction. So Article 20 protects the person from arbitrary conviction, but Article 22 protects that person after being convicted, and if he has been arrested after conviction, if he has been arrested or detained, okay, if he is being arrested or he is in detention under the custody, then Article 22 will work and perform. Okay, and Article 22 protects arbitrary arrest and detention. Article 20 protects arbitrary conviction, and Article 22 protects arbitrary arrest and arbitrary detention. And both these articles combinedly protects Article 21. That is one of the most important article. In my opinion, that is the most important article, with Article 32 as well. I will talk about Article 32. 5 points have been clearly mentioned in Article 32. Okay. Now let's see about preventive detention. But Article 22 does not cover preventive detention. What is preventive detention? I will tell you right now, but understand it, and one point to memorize is that Article 22 does not cover preventive detention. Article 22 only covers arbitrary arrest and detention, but not covers preventive detention. Then what is preventive detention? I am telling you. Fine, let's see. Preventive detention is the detention in which any person has been convicted and arrested without any kind of trial. This is being little bit surprise to you, but I hope you have got it earlier, because this is regularly in the news. Okay, so laws like TADA, okay, Maintenance of Internal Security Act, okay, Maintenance of Internal Security Act, National Security Act, okay, and so on. These acts comes under Preventive Detention Act. Preventive detention means if any person has not done crime, till now he has not done crime, without doing crime he is being convicted and arrested. How? Preventive detention itself mentioned in the Constitution of India. Okay, the founding fathers of our nation said that liberty of any individual of the nation will never and should never be bigger than the interest of nation itself. It means liberty of every individual is necessary, okay, but that liberty should not be understood as bigger than the interest of the nation. The interest of the nation should come first. The interest of the nation should come first. After that, the liberty of person will be applicable. Okay. So this preventive detention has been clearly mentioned in the Constitution of India. Fine. Preventive Detention Act 1950. Okay. So this person is being arrested and being convicted without he has done any crime, and he has been convicted and arrested without any kind of trial. Okay. Why? Because authority which has arrested him, the authority which has arrested the person A has got some kind of information, secret information, that this person will do certain crimes in upcoming times. Okay. The authority which has done convicted of that person and arrest that person A has got some news informations, secret informations, that the person will do few crimes or certain crimes, okay, in upcoming times, in future. Okay, this is little bit surprise, but preventive detention is actually mean what crime you have not done till now, but the same authority which is in front of you, if he feels that you will do crime in future times, then he will convict you and even can arrest you. There are few terms in that if that person is arrested under Preventive Detention Act, then the judges of high courts will see this matter. Okay, there will be a committee. If this committee wants, first of all he will be convicted for 3 months, he will be arrested for 3 months. Fine. After 3 months, if the authority wants to continue its arrest and detention, then that authority has to grant permission from the judges of high court committee. Okay, there will be a committee formed for this offense. Okay, for this offense watch. Okay, to watch this offense. So that committee will submit the report and give clarification that either that person which has kept under arrest for 3 months, the period of arresting that person should be increased or not. Okay, fine. So now let's come to the next slide. I hope you have got preventive detention. Our next slide is about rights against exploitation. Right against exploitation deals with 2 articles. I have told you yesterday. Okay, so rights against exploitation covers 2 articles, that is Article 23 and Article 24. Both are the important articles, too much important articles related with exploitation, rights against exploitation. So let's deal with Article 23. Okay, so I'm moving to the next slide. Fine. So our next slide is here. Fine. Article 23 has one certain points. Okay, let's see. Provision of traffic in human beings and forced labors. Okay, if any kind of trafficking has been done in human beings and if any forced labor is being practiced by anyone, then Article 23 is being violated. Okay, Article 23 is termed as violating. Okay, let's see it. Traffic in human beings means what? Means in earlier times it was more in trend. Okay, that some persons are being trafficking from one place to another place for doing any kind of work. Okay, from very harsh work, from very hazardous work they have to do. Okay, like person from a place has been picked up. Okay, some persons have been placed here and those persons is being picked up picked up from this place, and some authority has placed all those persons in a newer place, okay, and some illegal works has been done by these persons on behalf of that authority, okay, or some very hazardous work is being done, some very dangerous work is being done by those people, then the rights of those people is being violated. Here is Article 21. No person shall be deprived of his life and personal liberty, but here is deprived. This person's life and personal liberty is being deprived. Okay, so this is actually called human trafficking. Okay, fine. So if depriving those rights, then there is article mentioned for provision of trafficking in human beings. Okay, that is a punishable offense. And forced labor too. Okay, if any person doesn't want to do any kind of labor activities and that person is being forced to do that, then that laborious work is known as forced labor. Fine, forced labor. Okay, related with Article 17. This article is related with Article 17. How? Because let's see, Article 17 deals with a state as well as individual against individual too. Fine. And Article 23 is also doing the same thing, that if a state is involving or either individual is being involving, then action will be taken against a state or individual. So both are in relation with each other in few manner. Fine. So I am moving to the next slide. Let's see. Bonded labor has been abolished actually. After independence, certain provisions has been made for bonded labors. Bonded labor means what? Means poor people has been taken from one place and taken into some other place to do certain works without giving them proper wage, without giving them proper food facilities and sanitizing facilities, without housing facilities, then that kind of law is abolished. Okay, so bonded labor is abolished. Fine. One act, Bonded Labor Abolished Act and Minimum Wages Act 1976. Okay, these acts has been passed. Bonded Labor Abolished Act and Minimum Wages Act 1976 has been passed to provide at least minimum wage. At least minimum wage should be given. At least minimum wage should be given to the labor. Okay, before it there was nothing like this one. Okay, whatever the person has been given, that person has to accept that money, but after doing that, not less than fixed minimum wage, the person will not less than get the fixed minimum wage. Okay, more than that fixed minimum wage that person can earn, but not less than that fixed minimum wage. Okay, so this law, okay, has been abolished and found. Bonded Labor Abolished Act has been made. Okay, Abolished Act, Bonded Labor Act not. Bonded Labor Abolished Act means Bonded Labor Terminated Act, and Minimum Wages Act 1976 has been passed. Okay, so this is one of the important acts, okay, about laborers. Okay, fine. Another point is that Immoral Trafficking Prohibition Act. Immoral Trafficking Prohibition Act. Fine. This is what we hear news about. Women are being trafficking for illegal purposes. Fine. For immoral purposes, for those kinds of activities. Okay, fine students, for those kind of activities, that Prohibition Act has been passed. Fine. It means Immoral Trafficking Prohibition Act has been passed to stop that kind of trafficking about women. Even we can say that in men's, but normally it is about women. Fine. So I hope both these points have been clear to you. So I'm moving to the next slide. Fine. If this point is not getting properly visible to you, I am being sorry to you, but I will tell you and describe. Can we move 1 or 2 slides? Okay, fine. Okay, fine, doesn't mean anything. Okay, fine. This is about voluntary service. Fine. This is about voluntary service. This also comes under Article 23. Fine. This also comes under Article 23. See, bonded labor, forced labor is not allowed at all. Even slavery is not allowed at all. Fine. Bonded labor, forced labor is not allowed. If someone asks question that is slavery has been ended in India, then you will see that even slavery is not being mentioned in the constitution. Then has it been terminated in reality, slavery? Yes, slavery has been terminated because forced labor has been terminated, bonded labor terminated, illegal human trafficking has been terminated. Okay, so automatically slavery has been terminated. Fine, Devdasi system has been terminated from India. Okay students, the third thing is voluntary service. It is something different from normal one. Let's see, suppose an emergency situation comes in our nation. Okay, if any emergency situation arises in India, then what will happen that if a state needs some persons, then a state can call you to perform the duty. Okay, to perform some special duty. If a state call the persons of his nations to perform some duty during an emergency period or an exceptional period, then that work should not be counted under forced labor. If suppose any attack has been done on India by any foreign nation, by any foreign country, attack has been made on India, then if a state will call that let's fight on behalf of your state, the people of India, let's fight, then at that time you can't say that look, we are being forced. Not at all. I have already told you one line earlier also. Let's hear me clearly. Okay, fine. Personal liberty will never become and should never become more priority than interest of the nation. Fine. So this should not be treated as forced. Next one is for prisoners. Okay, prisoners. Okay, I am telling you in just 1 minute about prisoners. Let's see. Prisoners get normally 2 types of prison punishment. One is simple imprisonment and another one is rigorous imprisonment. Rigorous imprisonment. Fine. Rigorous imprisonment. Fine. In rigorous imprisonment, the person has to perform some work, some duty. Okay, either farm duty or to do any kind of work. Okay, something, anything, not the hazardous work, but he had to do certain works. Okay, under the imprisonment of rigorous imprisonment. Okay, fine. So under the rigorous imprisonment, that person has to do certain works. Okay, that will also be not counted under forced labor. Okay, fine. That person should not be counted under forced labor. But if under simple imprisonment, that person is being forced, then Article 21 is being violated right now. Okay, fine. Look, our Indian Constitution have provided this kind of a special right to even for prisoners. Fine. I hope all of you have got it, both the points. Even for prisoners, in rigorous imprisonment, if certain works have to do, you can't say that it is forced, because in rigorous imprisonment, okay fine, because in rigorous imprisonment it is already mentioned that you have to perform certain kind of works, fine, you have to do certain works. So now I am moving to the next slide. I hope these both points have been cleared. Now article 24. I will finish today's lecture after that article, okay. Tomorrow I will start from article 25. If you have any kind of doubt from article 12 to article 24, I will cover it just right now, then you can contact me, okay. Our team will help you definitely. Article 24 say that prohibition of employment of children in factories and etc, okay, etc, remember etc, not only factories, it's also and some other things too. So prohibition of employment of children in factories. Article 23 talked about trafficking in human beings, forced labor, bonded labor, slavery and more things about that, but this is a special about children, employment of children, prohibition of employment of children, okay, in factories and etc, okay. Any other slide? Yes, this one. I hope this is the last slide. See, hazardous means dangerous work, non-hazardous means not that kind of dangerous as like as hazardous. So hazardous means generally dangerous work. That mining activities is a hazardous work, that comes under hazardous work. Mining activities and something else activities like working under nuclear power plants, the labors, that comes on also under hazardous activities and lots more, okay. So in hazardous activities, any children will not be allowed to perform the work, okay. Any children can't perform hazardous activities, okay. This is not allowed in Indian constitution and according to Indian law. But in non-hazardous activities, okay, in non-hazardous activities, from early period of time, even in non-hazardous activities, any children can't perform work. What was the age mentioned? 14 years. 14 years of age. Any children which is below 14 years of age can't perform hazardous work as well as non-hazardous activities from initial point of, okay, after the preparation of constitution. But after ongoing times, there is feeling that this is not correct at all, fine. So this is continuing right now, this law is continuing right now too, but in non-hazardous, there is little bit differencia with ongoing times, okay. So by doing an amendment, it is being made that in non-hazardous activities, children can perform the work, but only when there will be the government, not it's family owned business, okay. Government will not hire below 14 years of children at all. Even private bodies are not allowed to hire their children. But when there will be matter of family owned business, then children can perform the work, okay. This has been given. So if children will perform this work, then how children will able to be literate, to teach, to get primary education, how? So with doing that amendment, with allowing the children below 14 years to work in family owned business, okay, our government has done a special thing, that government has brought right to education in primary schools for children's, okay, brought an amendment, brought a bill, right to education bill for primary education for children below 14 years, fine. For children below 14 years, there is right to education has been passed. According to that bill, Okay, it is compulsory for every children to get educated, to get primary education. Okay, it is the duty of the state to provide, it is the duty of the state to provide education to the children below 14 years of age. Okay, fine. 6 to 14 years of age, it is provided in right to education, and below 6 years, I am telling you one extra thing, below 6 years it is mentioned in DPSP. Okay, I will tell you after some times when I will directive principle of a state policy. Okay, don't mind it. So what are the correlation between them? Fine, just 1 minute, I am telling you. Fine, just 1 minute, students. Listen, in family owned business and right to education act, how these are correlated with each other. See, from initial point of time, any children below 14 years has not been allowed to perform any hazardous as well as non-hazardous activities, but after doing some amendment in non-hazardous activities, some children has been allowed to perform the work, but only in the family owned business, nothing else. With that, right to education bill has been passed for the primary education for giving the study to 6 to 14 years, and clearly said that in that amendment of non-hazardous activities, clearly said that children below 14 years of age will perform the work in family owned business when there will be no school hour. During a school hour, children even can't perform the work in their own family owned business. Okay, so after a school time over, children can perform the work in family owned business. Understand it? And if there is any vacation, summer vacation or any kind of vacation, then even children can perform the work. But during the school hour, children can't perform work in even family owned business. Fine, even family owned business. I hope both these points have been clear to you. Any other slides remaining? Let's see. I don't think so. Yeah, I have told you right now, this slide, 14 years restriction amended in 2012. Okay, this was amended, family owned business was amended in 2012, and right to primary education I have told you. So this has been covered. Any other slide? Any other slide? I am waiting for that. No. So our today's session is over. I hope all of the points are clear to all of you. Fine. I have yesterday told you that there will be no session happen on Sunday because our faculties has to arrange so many things for our lectures for qualifying your UPSC examination. They do a lot of hard work. That is because we have to analyze some kind of analysis of your preparation. Oh, fine. So we will attend our class from Monday to Saturday, and I have already told you that I will take current affairs class 2 from starting of July, or even it will start from after 25th of June. Fine students, I will cover almost 15-month current syllabus. Last 15-month current syllabus I will cover current affairs with a static portion, related with a static portion. That will be huge benefited for all of you. Fine. Thank you students.